Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and today I'm going to do a recap of DLC Milwaukee. I was there this past weekend, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts on everything about the event, the good, the bad, the in-between, etc. I'll be honest, I was hoping to have this written out and really well structured, and I just don't think that's going to happen. I've got a bunch of notes here to read, but they're not going to be as organized as I had hoped, so I apologize for that in advance, but I'm just very tired. I'm still kind of recovering from the long weekend and all that. So anyway, I'll just kind of go through things. I hope you enjoy. So starting with the deck I took, I ended up taking Blurple. I just wanted a deck that I thought was super consistent, and it was one that I very much enjoy its style. There's really nothing that compares to old Ruby Amethyst, but this is the closest. This is my version. It's pretty standard. Probably the biggest change is, I would say, the Ana. And I really like Ana. I'm very surprised no one seems to be trying her at all. She's quite nice into the aggro matchup, as instead of just dropping Genie or Iago on 4, which does nothing, it has to wait a whole turn before it can attack, Ana at least stuns something the turn you bring it in. It freezes them, so you can keep their Nala down, their whatever their most valuable card is, and then she still has the benefit of singing into the unknown, just like Genie or Iago. And then with the support, it means even if you lose your Basil early or you don't find your Basil, if you do the turn 5 Elsa, Ana can still buff Elsa as well, or maybe a Basil and Ana buff her together. So I think Ana's very good. I was very pleased with her. Overall on the weekend, I'd probably say TikTok and Iago did the least. They just didn't really come up, and I don't think either card is bad, but yeah, they just didn't come up very much. Iago kind of always got punished. Anytime I tried to bring him out into aggro, they always had the cannon to the strength or something. Monstro, you know what's funny is before we went to the tournament, I'd been considering cutting Monstro because he just wasn't showing up at all, but he actually showed up quite a lot over the weekend, so I was very pleased with that. And then everything else is pretty standard. 1 second star. You could argue to have more into the Blurple mirror, but I barely saw that. Speaking of which, so how did I do? At the end of 6 rounds, I was 5-1. So I had a really, really strong tournament. And that was way better than I was expecting. I just kind of thought I'd be middle of the road, maybe 4-4, maybe 3-5, something like that. And no, I was 5-1 after 6 rounds. I'm not going to go through the whole run because there's not much to say. Here's what I had to face, because what I faced, I think, really mattered. So for die rolls, I went an even 4-4. I lost 4, I won 4. Round 1 was Amber Steel aggro. I surprisingly won this 2-0. Luckily, I won the die roll against them. They just had a really slow start. Round 2, lost the die roll. It was against Purple Steel. I actually missed ramp in one of the matches, and the opponent got to essentially a top deck Cobra away from winning, but they couldn't find it, so I was able to win that. Round 3, lost the die roll. This was the Blurple mirror. This was super close. It essentially just became who won the die roll, and he did, so whoever won first got to win the matchup. So, what do you expect there? And then round 4 was another aggro Amber Steel matchup. Luckily won the die roll against them. So I kind of just had first player advantage. There was this one turn they had 3 Nala on the board with a lady, and they quested out for 11 in one turn, which was insane. Luckily I had 2 Rafikis to just kind of start eating them up. The midway point of the day didn't occur till 4:30. Round 5 I lost the die roll. This was against Purple Steel. I was able to 2-0 that. And round 6 also against Purple Steel. And I won this one 2-1. And apparently the guy in round 6 I faced was actually a Worlds qualifier. My buddy Justin came up to me afterwards. He said, "Hey, that guy you just beat, did you know he qualified for Worlds?" I was like, "Oh, no, I had no idea." So at the end of round 6, I'm 5-1, just beat a Worlds qualifier. I'm feeling really good. I've faced Purple Steel a lot, which is part of the reason I was so successful, because this deck, I think, just beats up on Purple Steel. And then round 7 and 8, so I need one win. I just need a single win to go to day 2. And round 7 and 8 back-to-back is Amber Emerald Dogs, which is my worst matchup, especially if they run the Chromacon version, because I don't have a way to deal with the Chromacon, and even when they're bouncing something like an Elsa that I just put out turn after turn, I have to spend so much ink to do that. So ran into that round 7, go to round 8, Dogs again somehow, and I lost the die roll in round 8 against the Dogs, and I actually took game 1 going second. He just kind of had a bit of a weird start. Game 2 was just that aggressive, bleh, you're dead in 4 turns kind of thing. Oh my god, it was so bad. He put out Aurora turn 1. I think I missed my 1 drop. And then he put out Aurora into Tiana. Turn 3, he's got the Tiana already. So he quests with all 3, puts out a second Tiana and a Daisy. So at the end of turn 3, when I have nothing. I think I've just sailed, or I've got a Tipo on board, and he's got double Tiana, Daisy, and Aurora. Like, it's over. There's no, even if I was allowed to draw the cards from my deck that I wanted, there's no way to get out of a situation like that. When the deck goes, it just goes. Game 3. So this is my winning in. I absolutely have to win this, and I get to go first, and so I'm feeling okay. And I had a really good start. I had like Rafiki, Basil, and the ramp, and a good turn 4 card, which was like Iago or something. And I had Into the Unknown as well, so like I could answer the Tiana. I felt so good, and I thought, oh my gosh, I think I might do this. I might go to day 2. And after I play my Elsa on 5, I've used up all my ink, so I'm on 5 ink, and I have nothing left in hand at this point. And my next top decks were Hades, Big Elsa, Hades again, Big Elsa. So for the next 4 straight turns, I couldn't do anything. I drew 4 high-cost uninkables, which was depressing. It really was. And I'm just thinking, like, not like this. Like, no, not this way. Is this really how my day is going to end? And yep, that's how my day ended. It just felt really bad, and it completely flipped my feelings on the day. That before then, when I was 5-1 and I'd just beaten a Worlds qualifier, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm doing really well. Like, wow, I'm playing really well. Like, I felt confident in myself and in my skills. And then after I get trounced by dogs, and I'm reflecting on the day, I'm like, was it actually because I'm a good player, or because I skilled my way through these matchups, or was it just because I saw the right matchups? And that's what it felt like it was. That my skill is kind of irrelevant. I just happened to see purple steel for most of the day, which I can beat up on, and that's why I got so far. And then, I saw the matchup I'm bad against, and then I lost. My buddy Justin, who did make day 2, I looked through his list, and he had to face some aggro too, but he didn't have to face dogs once. Not once did he have to go against dogs. And so it just, this has kind of been rotation in general. And to be fair, Lorcana has always had a lot of bad matchups, but it's been really exacerbated by rotation happening, where it just feels like the whole day feels like a die roll. Okay, what it comes down to, it feels like, what matchup did you see? And then did you win or lose the die roll? So it was very depressing, especially I was so darn close, and I wasn't even expecting to get that far. List-wise, no, I don't think I'd necessarily change anything. Again, some stuff, it just depends on the matchup. Like, Ana was great into the aggro. If I had faced Blurple Mirrors all day, which I somehow avoided other than one, I would have wanted another second star. Or maybe I would have wanted another TikTok, another big body for it to fight with. So, but overall, I was happy with the list. And yeah, so close, but so far. And now for notes on the tournament itself. These are going to be, again, kind of all over the place. I'll try to be as concise as I can be. There's a lot of negative here, so I'm warning you now. If you're one of the types that, like, I only want to hear the positive things, this is your time to exit. One of my friends actually said before, was telling me at the tournament, well, I try to be positive. And I've always found, personally, I find that statement strange. I don't try to be anything. I just be myself. I have no desire or feeling of like, I must speak positively about this, or I must speak negatively. I just speak honestly and how I really feel. So first off, I want to give a shout out to the STL crew, because overall, we had a lot of really strong players on the day. Myself and Andy and Nick, I think we were the almost rans. All of us, I think, were 5-1 going into round 7, and then we both lost. We all lost our last 2 going in, so we were all very close. Ron, Jimmy, and Justin Wardy's been on these before. He's helped me with the set champion videos. They got to day 2. They all were able to qualify for day 2. And then on day 2 itself, pretty much everyone knows about Aiden. Yeah, he's a local STL kid. I think he's only 10 years old. He went all the way through into top 8, got a golden Mickey. Just incredible run by him. Even beat DKP, which I wasn't there to see it. I was already traveling home. But, obviously he had a great run and great tournament. But not to forget my buddy Dylan either, that he kind of got lost in the shuffle of all the Aiden excitement, which I understand. But Dylan made top 32 as well. Both run Amber Steel aggro, so maybe that was the deck I should have taken. Maybe I just needed to go aggro and just blitz everybody. But overall, the St. Louis group showed up pretty strong, and everyone had some, a lot of people had really good tournaments, so that was cool. I want to give a special thank you and shout out to everyone who came up and said hello, and it was so many more people than I was expecting, way more than it was in Dallas, and it was really cool. It was really cool to meet a lot of you in person, so if you came up and said hi, thank you. I apologize that I don't remember all the names. I was up in Milwaukee a day early, and I was just out wandering the city on Friday doing the Riverwalk, and I hear from behind me, like, I'm taking a picture with the Bronze Fawns, and someone says, "Hey, Rudrose." There's some Lorcana fans who recognized me out on the streets of Milwaukee. I was not expecting to hear my name out there. Got to meet Luke in person finally. It was really funny the amount of people who were like, wow, you're a lot taller than I think you are, or than I assumed you were, because, you're just used to seeing me in this little box, but that was amusing. So if you came up, said hi, I think I signed a card for somebody, got stickers from some folks. Just, I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you appreciate my honest thoughts. And yeah, thank you. That was a really strong highlight of the day. Another highlight, I guess I'll try to keep with all the positives first, is I'm so much happier it's back to best of 3 over best of 2. Best of 2 is terrible. I hated that format. This felt way more definitive from a play standpoint than Dallas did last year because of best of 3. Now, yes, are there problems with the die roll? Sure, but that's not a best of 3 problem. So many card games do best of 3 just fine. That is a going first is too strong problem, or going second is not strong enough. And granted, the new cards they're bringing out that, well, if you happen to get this going second, that's not the way to fix it. I think I might try to do a whole another video just specifically on how to fix going first, because I think I have a pretty good idea for that. But nonetheless, best of 3, way better than best of 2. I appreciated that. I'm trying to think if there was any. I think that was mostly it. Okay, so now on to the negatives, and there are quite a few. And again, I apologize if these notes aren't in order. So first of all, this event was a 50% markup. These tickets were $75 this year compared to Dallas last year, which were $50 tickets. And this event was unequivocally way worse than Dallas, so I feel kind of hosed. I feel like I definitely didn't get my money's worth. They charged me more for a worse event. And between myself and my girlfriend, so $75 a piece, that's $150. Not to mention traveling with, driving the car, with the gas, with the hotel money, with all the Ubers we had to take back and forth from the event, because we're not parking at the event. My God, parking was like $35 or $50. So that's a lot of money that goes into these events. And, if you're wealthy or have a lot of money, maybe you don't care, but not all of us have a lot of money. So $150 just for the tickets, let alone all the extra money that goes into this. That's a lot. That is a lot of money. And for then the event to be worse overall, pretty much unequivocally, this ain't worth your money. It really isn't. And that's a real shame. Why was it worse overall? Well, let's start with the prize wall. The prize wall was terrible. There's just a bad selection. There was almost nothing I wanted from there. There was the Mulan promo and the Pegasus promo, non-foil versions. You could get Dragonfire, which I guess kind of matters now because at least it's getting reprinted in set 10, but still it just felt like a hangover from last year. And then Let It Go. And Let It Go was the one people clearly wanted. But I'm just another point about rotation, which I was right about all of that. Okay, this card isn't playable anymore. Maybe if it was, I would want this DLC version of Let It Go. But why would I chase a card that I can't even use anymore? No thanks. So they have these jumbo cards, which, they would just sit on the shelf, but they were so overpriced. Same with the playmats. Playmats were 18,000 tickets. And there was just nothing to chase. In Dallas, I needed Rapunzel's. Rapunzel was a good, usable, legendary card that I didn't own any of, so I actually wanted to get Rapunzel. And she was 20 tickets, and if you 3-0'd one of the side events, a 3-round side event, you got 19 tickets. And I complained last year in that video that, that felt greedy, just give me that extra ticket. So essentially, I complete a side event 3-0, I get a Rapunzel. Well, this one was even worse. You only got 1,200 tickets for entering, which was the equivalent of 3 booster packs, because a booster pack was 400 tickets. So everything was insanely overpriced. There wasn't really anything even worth getting. I ended up just getting an Elsa pin and a booster pack of Arcasia's Island. And unlike in Dallas, where this goes into the competition, there was no additional prize tickets for playing. So you got 1,200 for entering the main event. That was it. That was it. It doesn't matter how well you did. That was your ticket limit. In Dallas, there were ticket thresholds. There was, you get to 10 points, you get this many extra tickets. 20 points, this many extra tickets. 30 points, this many extra tickets. So there was real incentive to keep playing throughout the day. Here, if you didn't make day 2 and you needed to go 6-2 to make day 2, you had to get 6 wins at least out of your 8. The only other thing you were playing for was the Mulan promo, which was 3 wins, and that was it. So after that, you got nothing. So me going 5-3, 1 win away from day 2, 1 win away, I walked away with the same prizing as someone who went 3-5. That's dumb. That's really dumb. Just make it so that every game you win gives you another level of tickets. Every game is 400 tickets. Every game is 1,000 tickets. Whatever. So that literally every game you win matters. So if you end a straight 4-4, that's still better than someone who ended 3-5 or 2-6. You have more tickets to show for it. You have the promo to show for it. I just don't understand why the pricing is so bad, especially on the low end. And I had this complaint last year. You can go back and watch that video. Pricing continues to be way too top heavy. Way too top heavy. It just, there needs to be more for the lower levels, and I don't understand why there isn't, especially with how expensive the stuff is. If you made day 2, you got 10,000 tickets. Justin made day 2. I don't think he even had enough for a playmat. 10,000 plus the 1,200 for entering, and then you probably don't have time for the side events because you're playing in day 2. That's just insane. Just make it. Every win you get gets you another level of tickets. There is no reason not to do that. That's just silly. And then originally they weren't even going to give out prize tickets for entry. They were going to insist on you get Fabled packs, but luckily a bunch of people complained and spoke up and got them to change their mind on that. But just the prize wall in general was just so bad. It was so nice in Dallas, and it was such a letdown here. Top Cut in general, I still think is way, way too difficult to get into. And I was saying that, people can verify, I was saying that before this tournament even started. Having to go 6-2 is ridiculous. And that's just, keep in mind, that's just to get to day 2. To actually make it into the Top Cut on the next 4 rounds of Swiss, if you went 6-2 day 1, you couldn't lose a game. Because there were people who had a 10-2 record. I think Zan Syed was one of them. And he didn't make Top Cut. He was 10-2. Out of 12 games, he won 10 of them, and that's not good enough for Top Cut. Why? These tournaments are essentially 2,000 people. Why are we just doing top 32? Why are we not doing top 128 or top 256? That's still less than a fourth of the room or less than a third of the room. There's no reason not to be doing that. I don't know why we make it so minuscule and require you to play so perfectly. In my opinion, you should have had to go 5-3 to make day 2. That means you have still won the majority of your matches. Yes, the majority of your matches you have won. That's a good thing. We want you to win. You should have to win. You shouldn't be able to go 4-4 and just get in with a halvesies. But 5-3, you've won the majority of your matches, but you shouldn't have to be perfect, especially in a meta this unbalanced and unfun. And I said that in Dallas last year too. It's way too difficult to make Top Cut, and having to play perfectly that much sucks. PlayHub was, I'll give it credit, that it was better than I anticipated. So it did perform better than I anticipated, but it was still crap. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the 503 error I got. I got a 503 error on PlayHub during multiple rounds trying to load my pairings. And they would even start announcing, PlayHub, round is up. We're also posting paper pairings. Anytime you knew they said paper pairings, okay, I better go check those because that means the PlayHub isn't working. Or it would just sit there loading forever. I don't understand why they continue to push this program. It is clearly not ready, and it will not be ready until it can run a full event like this with no issues. No lag, no hiccups, nothing. You have other avenues. Why are you so insistent that we do this over and over and over again? Take the loss on this, put it back in the shop, work on it until it's ready, and then give it back to us. But no, they won't. And why? I don't know. But I don't like this version of Ravensburger, and I'm going to get to that a bit more later. So while it did perform better than I thought, it was still a mess. And it took us 12 hours. 12 hours for 8 rounds with no lunch break. That's unacceptable. That's ridiculous. So we were told round 1 starts at 10. Of course it didn't. Even though I was told, hey, you should get to the building at 8 a.m. because you're going to need that time to get through security and make sure you're here on time because round 1 starts exactly at 10. I was told that by a staff member. Of course, I didn't listen to that because that's ridiculous. We showed up at 9:30 and happily just waltzed right in with no wait whatsoever, so I couldn't imagine waiting around an extra hour and a half doing nothing. And of course, it didn't start at 10, and then of course there was a player meeting that they hadn't told us about. And then so we didn't even start playing till 10:40, 10:45. And then I think when we were halfway done, it was 4:30 in the afternoon, and we were only done with 4 rounds. Just ridiculous. And they need to streamline these things. I've heard all the excuses in the world. Well, there was people who weren't submitting their match reports, and so they had to wait for them, and then people always go into time. And we had 60 minutes to play every round, and somehow it's crazy to me the amount of people who were still going to time with 60 minutes, which is already such a long, long time to play. Yes, there are some grindy matchups out there, but if it's taking that long, we all need to play a little faster. And here's the thing about the match reporting, because they would call people up, hey, when we read off your name, please come see us. Your match hasn't been reported. I'm sorry, it should be on the player's responsibility to report your matches. So you need to, as part of your player meeting, make it very clear. If you have not reported your match, when the final match finishes, goes to time, it's an automatic loss. You are responsible for that. So none of this wasting time tracking people down. Now, the only caveat to that is some of us did report, but again, because PlayHub sucks, it didn't take it. I had a judge sit next to me, I think after round 3, to watch us input the results into PlayHub, and we had to do it multiple times before it registered, because he was like, hey, if it doesn't work, I'm going to just put it in on my end. So maybe that isn't fair just because they're using PlayHub and then you're going to report your matches and then they don't show up. Someone who came up to me, one of the fans, and I talked to him and talked about how, yeah, my buddy submitted his deck list, with plenty of time beforehand, and then they gave him a game loss because, you never submitted your deck list. He's like, I did it on the PlayHub, but PlayHub didn't take it, so that's too bad for you. Just, I don't understand why they're insisting on this system. Anyway, so the day took way too long, and again, with no lunch break, why is it taking this long? That sucked. One nice thing was you could do a free meet and sign with the artists. You didn't have to pay any extra money for that. You just went up to them. They even had little pictures and such they could sign, so you didn't have to bring them cards or anything. So that part was nice. The space itself was very lackluster. So in Dallas, you went in this main hallway and there was 2 sides, right? And one side was carpeted and it looked really nice and all the vendors were in there. There was a nice line all the way to this really nice wooden desk where you could register and get your prize tickets and all that. It felt very official. And then in there was a viewing area for the Top Cut, or for the streamed match, I should say. So not only were there chairs, there was a big TV that you could sit there and watch it. And there was a stage. There was an actual stage where the players went up to, and I think the commentators were back there and everything. It felt very official, and it felt like a real deal. Here in Milwaukee, it's just this big open concrete room. There's no double rooms. The streamed match is just tucked in a corner, and you couldn't get, and it was roped off to give them space or whatever, but it means you couldn't watch it. There was no screen. There's no way to watch it. You're just sitting there trying to do one of these. Oh man, can I see what they're playing? No, not at all. So there was no way to watch it. That really sucked. And then on top of that, there were no clocks to show what the game time was. And they did show up eventually, but apparently a lot of the players had to complain to, hey, can we put up some kind of screen so we know how much time is left in the round? And then what they did put up were these screens that were so far off to the sides, you couldn't even see them anyway. You're sitting there again trying to, what does that say? How much time is left? Oh, well, you could pull it out on your phone. I don't want to mess with my phone. I want to sit here and play. Why is this an issue? In Dallas, it wasn't. In Dallas, they had these nice tall poles with big stop signs looking on them that had the time. And no matter where I was sitting in Dallas, I could see them because they were all over the place. Here, I could barely see them. That's such a standard thing. Why are we losing that? Oh, what? You want to know how much time's left in the round? I don't know about that. Even Final Fantasy, even the Final Fantasy trading card game, which is so niche and has so few people playing it, even that, every event I've ever gone to for that game, I have had no problem seeing where the timer was and seeing what time in the round is. And Lorcana can't do that with this DLC that cost extra money, by the way, compared to last time, and we can't get a game clock? Come on. Other ways this event was worse. There was no Friday side events, and we've known this for a long time, but it bears worth repeating. They were at Dallas, and granted, that's the only one I went to last year, but I'm pretty sure there were at the other ones. And the line to check in for this event was so long, and it took, we were there right at 4:15, not even because I planned to, but we were actually at the public museum that day, which was great. Milwaukee itself was enjoyable to explore. And the public museum is right across the road from the Baird Center. So I thought, oh, well, it kind of timed out. Let's just walk in and see if we can register now. And there was such a long line. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to do what we originally planned. Let's go back to the hotel. We'll come back in several hours, which then the line was a lot shorter. In Dallas, big old Dallas, and this was back when the game was right at the height of its popularity, we just waltzed in. And we were there right as it opened. And me and my friends waltzed in and registered immediately. Way smoother. I don't know what the difference was other than it made me really miss Dallas. Sunday, we didn't play any of the side events. Why? Because there was nothing worth staying for. I went home early on Sunday. In Dallas, I grinded side events. I wanted to get those Rapunzel promos. But looking at the prize wall, I was like, there's nothing to get. There's nothing worth getting. And I'm not going to sit here and grind events. And I wanted to play Infinity, but on-demands weren't going to start till noon, and then they ended up starting late anyway, from what I've heard. And what am I doing all that for? If there's nothing I'm chasing, I'm not going to sit here and grind events, some of which kick you out if they're single elimination. So you don't even get the full 3 rounds. So I'm paying $20, $25 just to potentially get booted in round 1. I don't think so. Like, terrible. Just terrible. And again, if there's nothing worth buying from the prize wall, then there's no point to play them anyway. And this was not an issue last year. The bad and the meta itself was terrible. And I know that technically doesn't have anything to do with this particular tournament, but it just sucks that the tournament I finally get to take my girlfriend to, and the second one I get to go to, is with the worst meta we've ever had in Fabled. And don't get me wrong, Lorcana had plenty of meta issues beforehand, and there were some broken decks and broken cards, but rotation has just been awful, and it just feels more like a crapshoot and a die roll. And that brings me to a final point that I think Lorcana's going in the wrong direction. And if you don't think that, then I have to think you haven't been paying attention. So the DLCs so far are much worse than last year, much worse, and they're charging more money for it. That's unacceptable. This makes me not want to go to Indianapolis. Why? So I can go and just get obliterated all day, spend more money, and get nothing in prizing? Terrible. Whispers in the Well feels entirely random, especially after set rotation, and I thought about making a whole video on this, but I'll just make a quick point here. It is one thing to rebalance a game, right? So you've decided, hey, no one is going to play a 5-cost 5/5 for 2 lore. No one's going to play that card. It's too vanilla. It's not worth running. For example, Pooh Honey Wizard. So there is something to rebalance, right? Okay, well, let's try and make a version. What if it was a 4-cost 5/5 for 2 lore, or a 5-cost 6/6 for 2 lore? Would you play that? Because there is some level where the stats become so insane that you actually will play the card despite its power level. So with all the power creep we're seeing in Whispers in the Well, you could argue, oh, well, this is a rebalancing. Well, it would be if that was their reasoning, but take a look at this. There are so many examples in this set, but this is the one I've chosen. Cauldronborn, 5-cost 6/7, 1-cost lore, versus Sven, a 6-cost 5/7, 1 lore. There is no reason to ever play Sven when you have Cauldronborn, right? Okay. Yeah, because he's just unequivocally better, right? And you would say, okay, well, yeah, Sven is a set 1 card. It's okay to power rebalance in set 10. Yes, it is. Except this is the set 1 Sven. This is the set 9 Sven. This card was reprinted. They brought this back. They wasted valuable card slots instead of actual good cards or cards that did something fun, or like the Pegasus Shift line, so all those promos we got are worth a damn. They brought this back to then 1 set later completely nullify it and make it void. Why would we do that? Why would you do that? I don't understand how anyone can look at that and think this team knows what they're doing. They have a clear vision and direction for this game. That's not what I see. I see a team throwing stuff at a wall like always. Why would you reprint this card and multiple of those cards in set 9 to then immediately power creep them 1 set later? Where is the vision? Where's the direction? What are you doing? Genuinely, what are you doing? And in line with that, they've already taken away the 2nd place playmat from set championships. We got to look at the promo prize kit for set 10, and the pins are going away. There's only 1 pin now. The last one had 4. And the pins were legitimately one of the reasons I kept going to weekly locals, because I genuinely like the pins. I don't know if you can see it over there. The behind me on the wall is a little cork board, and it's got all the pins in it. I love the pins, and now we're losing those too. How much more are we going to lose? And the DLCs are worse? Like, this game's going in the wrong direction. It really is. And I want to know what happened to the Ravensburger from Season 1. The Ravensburger that after their first DLC, made an immediate change to the prize wall for Chicago, made an immediate change to the tournament. And that was such a breath of fresh air for me, coming from Final Fantasy, who notoriously never did anything. And if there was an issue, would wait maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 years to fix it, if they even did that. And I had such hope for Lorcana, and I thought, oh my gosh, Ravensburger is different. They care. They care about this game, because within 1 tournament, they got all this feedback, instant change, and they made it better. And that was such a breath of fresh air for me. What happened to that team? Why are we now getting less and we're being charged more? We're being charged more for less. You don't have to just be a consumer on these things. Yes, we all appreciate Lorcana for what it is, but I'm sorry, to me at the end of the day, it's a product. It's a product I pay money for, and if I'm not getting my money's worth, I'm not going to buy that product. So those are my thoughts on the tournament overall. And the thing is, I played better in this tournament. I was way closer to top cut than I was last time. Last time I just faced Ruby Amethyst Mirrors all day and just split 1-1 ties. This time I did better. So in a tournament where I did better, I still feel worse about it because it was worse. This was a worse DLC, and it doesn't bode well for the future of this game. It really doesn't. So I'm going to wrap up there. I apologize if this wasn't more organized. I would have loved to have this with cliff notes and visuals and all that, but just didn't work out. So again, if you came and said hi, I really appreciate you. I hope you had a good time. Maybe you had a much better time than me. And if there's something you really loved about the event I didn't mention, feel free to put it in the comments below. But also, if there's something you too thought, yeah, this was really lackluster compared to last year. Yeah, they really messed this up. Let them know that too. We need to raise our voices and demand Ravensburger does better. We deserve better than this. We're paying customers. We have supported them since day one when they have stumbled many, many times. So ask for better because you're a paying customer and you deserve it. Anyway, hope you have a great day. I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I got to always make sure I do that plug. And until next time, take care.